listener production.
Hi, Natarsha Belling with you and welcome to the afternoon edition of The Briefing. Coming up in our deep dive, could Bitcoin finally be the new liquid gold? We unpack why the cryptocurrency is hitting record highs and why the US is about to shake up current legislation and regulations that will supercharge the way the world uses crypto. But first, let's check the afternoon headlines this Tuesday, the 15th of July. The Reserve Bank wants to crack down on debit and credit card surcharges in a move it says will save customers around $1.2 billion a year. A consultation paper released by the RBA proposes banning the extra fees on EFTPOS, MasterCard and Visa cards. Here is RBA Governor Michelle Bullock.
We think the time's come to address some of these high costs and inefficiencies in the system. Our goal is a more competitive, efficient and safe payment system for everyone.
Public feedback on the proposal will run until the end of next month. If given the tick of approval, the new surcharge rules won't come into effect until mid-next year. An estimated 800 extra children will now have to be tested for STIs after Victorian authorities revealed accused pedophile Joshua Dale Brown worked at 4 additional childcare centres in Melbourne. Police now believe Mr Brown worked at 23 childcare centres between January 2017 and May 2025. Police say agencies are in the process of contacting affected families at the new centres. A list of centres and dates can be found on the Victorian Government's website. And former federal Labor leader Mark Latham has denied allegations made by a former partner that he forced her into degrading sexual acts and sustained abuse. The claims reported by The Australian were detailed in an application by Natalie May Matthews lodged for a domestic violence order against Mr Latham. New South Wales Police have not laid any charges nor applied for any order on the behalf of Miss Matthews. Mr Latham was opposition leader and lost the federal election in 2004 against Prime Minister John Howard. Now it's time to get into our deep dive with investment analyst Justin Lin on the new boom in Bitcoin. As the United States debates new rules and regulations for cryptocurrencies, we take a look at why some experts say in the current rollercoaster financial world, it could be the next digital gold. Justin, thanks so much for joining us. Why has Bitcoin hit this record high?
Well, it's actually a bit of a long story. So Bitcoin is really hitting its institutional adoption moment. It's getting its policy clarity moment. In the US, they're having this crypto week in which they're really looking to introduce 3 main acts. That's the Clarity Act, the Genius Act, and the Anti-CBDC Act. And it's a bit of a moment that people have been waiting for a long time in the cryptocurrency industry. So that is perhaps why there's so much excitement right now.
So in regards to, you just mentioned that crypto week, what is that?
So this crypto week is actually a bit of an interesting thing because I feel like it's an on-the-spot name that they gave to this week starting July 14th because it's just happened to be a combination of 3 acts that they're kind of considering in the House and voting on in the House right now. But in terms of the cryptocurrency industry, it's quite a landmark moment, right? The Clarity Act in particular is particularly important because it's really cleaning up the image of the crypto sphere. And what I mean by that is that there has been long been this view by retail investors and institutional investors as well that the cryptocurrency industry and cryptocurrencies are kind of mainly used as a vehicle for transaction in legal activities. And the US is trying to really address this by launching anti-money laundering type of legal requirements and improving national security. The way that they're going about it is forcing the Federal Reserve to report on all known crypto wallets and services that are linked to state actors such as North Korea, Iran, Russia, and really try to get to the core of who is sending this money and who is using this money so that retail investors can feel comfortable with cryptocurrency sphere.
So if I'm just a lowbrow investor, The big question here is, Justin, can I make millions of dollars out of Bitcoin?
I think, over the long run, perhaps I would really be against, trying to get rich quick. There's really no such thing that exists in the financial sphere without the equivalent risk, of course. In terms of Bitcoin, making millions of dollars, it's not out of the question, right? Bitcoin is really becoming quite a legitimate asset class, and it's still growing at a very rapid rate. 2024, it almost doubled in terms of its value in USD terms. This year, it's up another 28%. So those are pretty impressive figures, even by traditional finance means. So maybe if you have the long enough time horizon, Bitcoin could take you there. I think it's definitely possible.
Justin, talking about how much it's now valued at, Bitcoin, of course, was the first cryptocurrency. It started trading in January 2009 when it was valued at 0.004 cents. How much is it now worth? It hit a record high this week, right?
Yeah, it's thinking back, it's quite impressive. But over the past 16 years, it's appreciated, like you said, from that 0.04 cents to now 120,000 US dollars per coin. The good thing is for investors, if they're really keen on Bitcoin, is that they don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. They can buy a portion of a Bitcoin for, $10 or $50, or they can go on the stock exchange and buy a Bitcoin ETF. And those will be a portion of a Bitcoin as well. So it's very, very interesting to see how Bitcoin has come so far. And it's a really good asset class perhaps to diversify with.
Do you think in the very near future, considering how much it's grown in value, do you think we could see Bitcoin used as a very, very common currency very shortly?
As a currency, it's a bit of an interesting question because Bitcoin is built on what we like to call a legacy blockchain technology. So it's a bit of an older blockchain technology compared to something like Ethereum, which is it's smarter, it's a bit more programmable. So Bitcoin's liquidity is high, make no mistake, it is high, but in terms of becoming a currency like the Australian dollar or the US dollar, perhaps it's a little bit expensive, a bit clunky to use. But there's actually a narrative that's starting to crop up a little bit around the world that crypto is becoming this sort of digital gold, like a storage of value that you can use over the long term, mainly, based on its fundamental advantages, which is the fact that it's inflation resistant. Number one, it's only got 21 million coins no matter what you do with it. And it's not tied to any government, right? It can't be inflated. You can't print it. So it's a neutral asset just like gold, and it can be traded around just like gold. So there's a case to be made there.
Justin, it's really interesting to see these developments with Crypto Week in the States because we know President Trump was once a crypto skeptic, but he's become a major promoter now during his presidential campaign last year, offering for people to donate to his campaign using crypto, but also his family business has launched several cryptocurrency meme coins as well.
Definitely. Bitcoin becoming digital gold is still a bit far off. So I want to, first of all, clarify that it's not quite there. It's still a very volatile asset, and they have very distinct qualities for investors to consider. In terms of Trump's family coin, I think it's interesting how that has progressed because what Trump has launched in this dollar TRUMP Trump coin is a meme coin. It's not really tied to Bitcoin particularly, or it doesn't really have any functionality outside of speculation. So while Bitcoin having a run up is likely to drag up the entire cryptocurrency industry, it's not really a direct effect on Trump coin. For now, I think Trump is still positioning the Trump coin as a way to access the Trump family, kind of buy interest from them and show them that you have money and influence. Whether that is moral or legal, that's open for discussion. But Bitcoin and Trump coin, very much not the same thing.
Justin, in regards to your advice for Australian consumers or Australians listening to this podcast at the moment, what would your advice be? Because crypto or Bitcoin was once seen as pie in the sky stuff. Stay away from it. It's the underworld. It's dodgy. What would your thoughts be now in 2025?
Well, throughout 2025, I think it's going to be a bit of a landmark year in terms of cryptocurrency, and Bitcoin, I think in particular. Not all cryptocurrencies are built the same. Bitcoin by far has the highest adoption. And ever since the launch of Bitcoin ETFs in the US in 2024, we've seen that the institutions are really willing to dip their toes in and really get a taste of the pie in the sky, as you said, as well. So this week in particular, I think will be a real test of the US's resolve to improve clarity and really improve the regulatory environment around cryptocurrency and make it legitimate as an asset class. Going forward, I do see that Bitcoin will likely become a very, very valuable asset class to have in your portfolio in terms of diversification. We saw pretty interesting signs on April 2nd, Liberation Day, when Trump announced those reciprocal tariffs, that Bitcoin was actually pretty resilient to those price moves in the equity market. So that's a very positive sign. That means investors are thinking more about Bitcoin's fundamental traits that we talked about. It's the fact that it's non-sovereign, the fact that it doesn't have inflation, instead of just speculating on its price. So these are all very positive signs. And I think we are building towards something that kind of looks like digital gold, but not quite there yet.
We will watch what happens this week in the US with great interest. Justin, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Natasha.
That was investment analyst Justin Lin. And that's it for this episode of the afternoon edition of The Briefing. We'd love you to subscribe or follow us on Instagram at The Briefing Podcast, and we'll be back in your feed tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. I'm Natarsha Belling. Thanks for your company.